Hi, welcome to Irregular Art. This is AJ and today we are drawing a very beautiful baby together. We are using a toned paper and there is a trick about toned paper which I will get to. I had used toned paper before to draw Tan France's portrait. I'm putting it right here so that you can check it out. So there are some tricks about baby skin and I will get to that right now. Here's our little baby. If you want to show your support to me, you have two options. You can either become a member on my Patreon, patreon.com/irregular, or you can subscribe to this channel. You can find all the materials I used in the description part. Also, I have some free stuff for you. Just check out the description part. Let's draw. This is the final product. This is how our baby will look like in the end. It took me around 4.5 to 5 hours to finish the whole drawing, and I will now explain to you step by step all the stages that I followed. There were really tricky moments and there were some mistakes that I made. I want to explain to you all that. The first one is the sketch part. Because toned paper is very thick and dark, it is hard to trace it from your monitor, so you can use a tracing paper or you can use the grid method. Don't forget to add the highlights in your drawing. Normally on white paper, I usually mark the mid-tone areas. Here, it is important to mark the highlights and the shadows. The next step was locking in the shadows. What I did was using my charcoal pencil, I added all the shadows and then afterwards I went over them with my blending stump. Now if I can go back in time, probably I would use more soft charcoal instead of medium charcoal because it gave a little bit of grainy structure in the end. But after all, it was really dark at some places and I wanted to give that with my charcoal pencil. I'm gonna talk about pencils more at the end of this video. The next step was the highlights. It is super important to mark the highlights from the very beginning in your toned paper work. I'm adding with my pastel pencil all these very highlighted bright areas. I am blending them with a Q-tip. I find Q-tips really helpful in terms of blending pastel pencils. How do we use eraser? One thing that we are used to is when we erase in charcoal drawing, you will get a brighter, lighter tone. But in this one, when you erase, you will get a darker tone. So it is reversed. You have to think reversed, and that takes time to adjust. Here you see that I created the midtones by just erasing them. Because when you erase, you're erasing the lighter tone at the top and you're revealing the midtones, which is the tone of the paper. I really recommend using your Tombow Mono eraser because it is really helpful to get the finer details. So babies have smooth skin. They don't have this structure or they don't have this texture on their skin. In order to give that smoothness, you have to use some smooth mediums such as charcoal or pastels. That's why I chose them. And you have to keep blending them like my finger, I'm doing it right now. Or you can use blending stump or a piece of napkin. Blending with your fingers or blending with the napkin gives the smoothest results. So speaking of blending, you see that I'm here using the tissue. You have to use the clean part of your tissue each time because accidentally, if it is dirty, if it just touched the charcoal, then you're gonna smear all that charcoal on the whitest part of your baby face. Let's talk about eyebrows. With the babies, the hair is not fully grown, right? We are not drawing an adult, we are drawing a baby. So what I did here, very gently, I added all these hair in the eyebrow with my charcoal pencil, but then in order to lessen that effect, I blended with a Q-tip. Then you will see that I also added some white highlights or basically mid-tone highlights with my eraser. It is important to keep these hair, eyebrows, eyelashes less prominent because again, babies don't have usually fully grown hair, and we will do the same thing while we are drawing the hair. You can see that I'm adding some pastels here too, and each time I add pastel pencil in the eyebrow, I again have to blend it because blending gives this very natural look, very realistic look to our baby's face. Here I'm doing the same thing on the second eyebrow, as you can see. And you see that I'm adding my eraser. And I blend it later and all good. So with the baby hair, the same logic applies. We are going to add some hair first with our charcoal pencil, and then we will add the others. I will explain step by step. But in this photo, the reference photo, the baby's hair is a little bit wet. I think the photo was taken right after the shower, so the hair is a little bit clumped together. That's why I had to give that effect as well. What I did is, after drawing the hair with the charcoal, I blended them with a Q-tip in the direction of the hair. But you can see that it doesn't look very natural yet because we need to do layers, of course. Then I used my eraser to reveal the midtones underneath. Again, we are not giving highlights, we are revealing the midtones. The highlights will be given with our white pastel pencil. Here you see that white pastel pencil already there. I'm going to blend them again with a tissue, and then afterwards I'm gonna do at least 2 more layers. And the right side of the baby's face is a little bit darker than the left side. And you can see that, blending them all together with my finger, including the hair. And finally adding again another layer of charcoal pencil, and I'm adding also some pastel pencils. Then together I'm blending them with a Q-tip and blending stump. Now let's talk about the body. The body is more difficult than the face. There are so many midtones. There's no one single midtone, so we had to create those. That's why I got my graphite pencil as well. I'm using H and B graphite pencil here, number 6B, but you can use any of them really. I'm using my blending stump as well and my kneaded eraser because I need to reveal those midtones once in a while. And where the arm folds and then makes these kind of shadows on the blanket or towel, let's say, it is really dark. So I have to give those dark effect and folding effect using both my charcoal pencils and my graphite pencils. So the hand was a little bit difficult because there wasn't much highlight there. And if you use your charcoal too much, then it's not gonna look realistic. So we had to blend, add the highlights, add the charcoal, and blend again till we find a balance. The hand and the arm had a shadow on this blanket, so we will also add those shadows once we create the background. Speaking of the background, I used pen pastels because I'm working on a larger area, it's easier. I used this sponge to basically spread all these pastels evenly on my paper. Then I switched to this tool specifically because I started to get into the corners and that was difficult with just a sponge. How did I do the folds? In order to do the folds, the folding part needs to be darker, but I didn't want to use my pencil there because I already have a midtone underneath. What I did is wherever the fold is, I left the midtone there like a line. So leaving those midtones alone actually gave a very nice folding effect for our blanket. Also, baby's a little bit of leg was showing too, so I finished that leg and the knee as well. As I said in the beginning, I was going to explain more about pencil choices. So for the darkest areas, I used here charcoal pencil, but if you ask me now what to use, I think I would go for a little bit softer choice rather than medium one, or I could use just the charcoal dust instead of my pencil to get smoother results. And I used my pastels for the white areas because we are working on a smooth skin and pastel really gives smooth results. These are not the only options. You can also use colored pencils. They will give great results as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and you learned a lot. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Thanks for watching my video. If you like my videos, please don't forget to subscribe. And for my real-time narrated tutorials, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/ecegürler. Stay with art and love.